Hello, welcome to the channel, welcome to the RDA, and welcome to our Southampton vs Manchester United preview. And if my math serves me correct, Liverpool have been losers for 3 whole days. 3 whole days, they've been in the mud, and it brings a smile to my face. But for real, we're going to start the show off without reminiscing on Monday nights. And what a victory that was. What a special victory that was. And we went into that game as Manchester United fans, with a different agenda. The agenda was, we're sick and tired, This must end. We're going to take back our club by force, And on that front, I think we have to, recognize what a success that was, Good approaches outside, And we just need to keep piling on the pressure. Glazers out, Like, we're not having any other way. We don't care what you do. Glazer family, we want you out. You've had enough time. Time's up. It's simple as that. But beyond that, I think the victory was a pleasant surprise. It really was, I think surprise is the key word there. Heck, maybe miracle is a better word, A miracle Eric Ten Hag pulled off. I want to put it firmly on Eric Ten Hag. Yes, the players deserve praise as well, but he was the one, who took the situation by the scruff of the neck and, brought the best out of the players, And I'm over the moon about that. But at the same time, it needs to be a stepping stone, not a one-time thing, which we are used to doing. We've done this in the past. We've had big victories in the past, but then it becomes a one-time thing, and we never actually build on it, And that's what we need to do against Southampton. And it's going to be a very interesting game. We can't really play in the same way we played against Liverpool, because the Liverpool performance, as good as it was, there's something about it that was a bit Ollie-esque, Something about it was a bit Ollie-esque, We did play predominantly on the counter, Not that that's a bad thing, I think in that one game, Ten Hag schooled Ole on the appropriate way to play on the counter, Because what I found to be different in what we did on Monday compared to what we've seen Ole do in the past is that off the ball, we went passive. Off the ball, we didn't put all our players behind the ball and just wait for Liverpool to make the mistake. We were very proactive, we pressed them, and we were like, we are going to cause you to make the mistake and then take the ball and be very direct, And I think that just transforms the style completely, Because if you just let Liverpool come on to you, eventually they're going to score, If they have all the ball, if you're never getting on it, if you're not threatening, and if you're getting that loose, if they have a loose ball or if they make the mistake and then you want to capitalize on just that, on the counter, you won't have much to work with. But in that game, for a good 20 minutes, Liverpool couldn't get out. We were pressing so high, Like, they couldn't get on the ball, they couldn't get out, and we were pressing high, and when we did win it in the high areas, we'd be very direct, And that was the Ten Hag counter-attacking style, I think, And I think he schooled Ole in how to play it appropriately in one game, But even still, he will not be able to play like that against Southampton, because Southampton are not going to give us as much space as Liverpool did, As much as we can speak about Southampton the same light we probably speak about Brighton, in that they like to play proactive football, but they're also not naive. I think Ralph Hasenhuttl is going to set them up in a way that, yes, they will take their chances, they'll play on the ball, they'll play fancy football when they can, especially because they're at home, but he won't be naive and say, gun-ho, At times, he will let us have the ball and just sit back, because we have struggled with that for a very long time. For a very long time. For me, in my mind, the day the struggle started was back, I can't remember the year, Mourinho, and when we were playing Burnley at Old Trafford, and we had shot after shot after shot, but we just couldn't score, and ultimately we couldn't break down Burnley in that day. And ever since that day, in my mind, I recall that to be the start of our problems of struggling to break down defensive blocks, So they will play in a deep defensive block and they will try to take advantage of our weakness, And we're going to have to get around that, We can't play on the counter. We're going to have to play on the ball. We're going to have to play the way Ten Hag wants to play. We're going to have to play Ten Hag ball, And I think we can do that. Because that's what we've been training from day one when Ten Hag entered the building, We've been training to play on the ball, be a possession-based team, and yeah, just learn how to break down teams, So I think the players are ready to do that. They've been training to do that, I think our biggest problem that we saw against Brighton, that we saw against Brentford is that off the ball, well, besides that, the desire is a problem. We don't really desire it enough. We don't really work enough. We don't want to win the second balls, which we had a complete U-turn in terms of when it came to what we did against the Liverpool game. There was a lot of desire. There was a lot of energy, you know. From get-go, let's go, 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 you know. But besides that, you know, our big problem is what we do off the ball, you know. When we lose the ball and then the team tries to counter on the turnover, we just seem to be completely loose. You know, we're open, we have no sense of structure, and that needs to be addressed, you know. And I think the best way to address it, beside the desire, is teamwork, you know, to be one, you know. And I think we saw promising signs in terms of that against Liverpool, because one big improvement against Liverpool was that, as I already mentioned, how we pressed against them, you know. And our press, it works in such a way that if you don't do it as a team, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. You leave holes, you know, and, you know, Fred and McTominay are isolated, and, you know, they can't work in a situation to save their life, you know. So we need to press as a team so we're not easy to bypass on the turnover. You know, that's a big problem with us, you know. Teams sit back and they know when they get the ball and we're playing a high line, it's going to boot one forward and then there's going to be no one. You know, our centre-back's going to be isolated, you know. Defensive midfielders can't handle that, you know. So that needs addressing, and to address it, we need to continue in the same vein as we did against Liverpool, you know. So I think that element of our play, you know, will be big, will be a very big issue this season, you know? And if we can address that, I think we'll be able to progress, you know, and maybe finish in a decent position in the table. But if we don't, trouble is going to be at Old Trafford. But, you know, one player who can help us address that is the main man himself, our newest signing, Casemiro, you know. And I would love if he could play in this game. I'd be over the moon. But honestly, I have my doubts. I really do, you know. I think the fact that his work permit was approved today, you know, and today's going to be, or was, or is, I'm not sure what time we train Manchester United, but today is his first training session. I don't know if he's going to play. I kind of feel like Ten Hag's the type of manager who doesn't want to just throw you, you know, into the fire, you know. I think he's going to stick with what we have at the moment, you know, and maybe Casemiro will start off the bench, you know. So that's a bit disappointing, but at least if it goes the way I think it will, we'll see a glimpse of him, you know. But, you know, the player is secondary. Yes, having a good defensive midfielder solves a lot of problems, you know, because you can deal with those turnovers, you know. You have someone who is a specialist in terms of dealing with such situations, you know. But ultimately, even they can suffer if we don't work in unison, if we don't press together, you know, if we don't just have a sense of composure as one team, you know. And I think that was personified against Liverpool by Varane and Martinez, you know. They look like one, as a centre-back pairing should look, you know. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, you know. I think now we can move on to what I think the lineup will be, you know. And I will try my best to edit it into this video. If I don't, I'm sorry. I apologize. But I'll try my best to edit in this video. And we'll start with the goalkeeper. I think this one's obvious. It's going to be David De Gea. Who else is there? Who else is there, you know? And he was alright against Liverpool, you know. It was a step up compared to his howler against Brentford, you know. So I think De Gea will start, and he must keep hitting them long. He must keep hitting them long, because as much as Ten Hag probably wants us to play short and play out from the back with our goalkeeper, I'm just not confident in De Gea doing it, you know. So maybe try to find a better balance, you know. Sometimes when you see that, you know what, maybe it's just not the appropriate time to do this, just boot it out, you know. Like, there's no harm in that, you know. Like, ultimately, as much as you want to impose a style of play, you can't be naive, as Ten Hag put it himself, you know. So David De Gea at the back. The fullbacks, yeah, it would be a crime if they changed, because they played excellent against Liverpool. Dalot on the right, of course, because also there's no one else of that mold, you know. Wan-Bissaka just can't play the type. He's not the type of fullback that we need at Manchester United. That's the sad reality of it. As good as he's defensively, you know, and that's a shame. It's such a shame that fullback is possibly the best in the world defensively can't get into a top team. It's just weird. It's weird just saying it, because he's a defender, and he's really good at defending. but he's not good enough. It's weird, you know. And then on the left, yeah, they retired Shaw. I'm not having it. Okay, not retired. I'm exaggerating. You know, because form is a thing, you know. Who knows? Maybe Malacia will have a howl against Southampton. But Malacia needs to start. You know, he earned it against Liverpool, and he earned the start for the foreseeable future until he drops off, and then Shaw maybe has to come in. That's the point of competition, you know. So Malacia has to start at left back. You know, I really love his performance. Very aggressive, you know, very tight in what he does. You know, he seems really promising, and yeah, I'm excited to see how he goes forward. Centre back pairing, yeah. If Maguire is playing, I'm switching off the telly. I'm switching off the television. I'm not having it because there's no point in watching because one, we're probably going to lose, and two, that would be the biggest injustice I've seen in my life. You know, he does not deserve to walk back into this team just because he's captain England. He doesn't deserve that, you know. And Martinez and Varane were absolutely brilliant. Best centre-back pairing display I've seen at United since Rio and Vidic. I think so. Against in the game against Monday, I think it's the best display we've seen since those two. You know, we haven't crazy make such a statement, but I think it's accurate. You know, so they should play. And I rate Ten Hag. I think he is not so stupid that he would he'd throw Maguire back into his team. You know, that's something Ole would have done. And if Ten Hag does it, I'll be asking questions already. If, you know, he's playing to the Glazer strings, you know? So, yeah, I think it will be Varane and Martinez. And I just think in the way they play, you know, they just ooze, what's the word I'm looking for? Being proactive, you know? They're very proactive, you know? And that's what Ten Hag likes, you know? That's what any top manager likes. You need to be proactive. You need to go after it, you know? You need to be aggressive, you know? And I feel like a lot of the time, we see Lindelof and Maguire just being very reactive, you know, being very hesitant, you know, just not knowing where this next pass should go, you know. And I just find it to be crazy, you know, to be at that level, you know, and to be struggling with such basic things, you know. It's like sometimes Maguire is just, you know, paralyzed by the nerves when he's playing for Manchester United. So, yeah, I think at the moment, same with Shaw, I think the pairing of Lindelof and Maguire, or just Maguire alone, can't just walk back in because that would be injustice to, you know, what football's about. Maybe I'm struggling to put that in the right way, but an injustice to the fact that you need to earn your place in the team, and if you're playing for a team like Manchester United, no one's bigger than the club, you know, no one's bigger than the club, and it's just down to, you know, who is performing to the standard of the badge. If you're not performing to the standard of the badge and you're playing, there's something wrong, because that's an implication that you, the player, are bigger than the club. So, yeah, I really hope there's no shock there. And then going into midfield, I'd love for Casemiro to start. Oh, my days. I would love for Casemiro to start, but I just don't see it. You know, I just get this vibe that Ten Hag is going to put him on the bench, and then he will come on in the second half, you know, whenever that is in the second half, you know. So I'm going to go for... I'll go for Eriksen and Fred. And Fred. Is Fred? I think Fred's Fred, you know. I know they played... Oh, it'll be McTominay again. You know what? It'll be Eriksen and McTominay. I think he probably won't change what he did against Liverpool. You know, he played well. You know, he raved about McTominay, even though I thought that he was the worst on the pitch, you know. But he said, what's his name again? McTominay played well against Liverpool. You know, I just don't see it. I never see the McTominay. But managers seem to see something, you know. So I think he won't change what was successful. He's going to go with McTominay and Eriksen, you know. And yeah, you know, with Eriksen, I guess he just wants the deep line playmaker, you know, who can make things happen from deep in the pitch, you know. And then with McTominay, sure, you know, the aggression of the derby is one thing, but in a game like this where you're playing a low block and you have to break them down, is he the best person to do that? You know, he can't make a progressive pass to save his life, you know. So I don't agree with the McTominay one. I would prefer Eriksen and Fred, you know, and there's a possibility of that happening, you know. I just think Fred is a much better player than McTominay, you know. Shoot me, you know. And yeah, I think it's going to be Eriksen and McTominay. He won't change it. In front of them, I think once again it's going to be Bruno Fernandes, you know. And he played all right. He played all right against Liverpool, you know. I think as I said in one of our shows, I think Bruno's killed by his own standard. You know, he set the bar so high that even if he has an okay game, it's not Bruno standard. You know, so yeah, you know, we are just hoping that he can get back to those heights. And I think as the team develops, as you know, the players understand each other alongside the system of Ten Hag, I do think Bruno will get the best out of Bruno, because I think Bruno is a brilliant player. You know, and maybe it's unfair if I'm sounding like I'm blaming the system a little. I think it is a little of a system thing, but at the same time, I understand that Bruno needs to take responsibility of his performances, you know. So we'll see, but I think he'll play. I think it's gonna be one of those situations where he's gonna have to play through the form, because you know we don't really have other leaders and talismans. You know, Bruno, even in his bad form, still makes the team because maybe a lack of options. You know, but one can say maybe just move Eriksen to that position and then bring in play a Casemiro early. God no, don't play McFred. You know, I doubt there's any United fan who actually wants to see McFred. I'd be very surprised, you know. So we'll see what he does with the midfield. But if I'm a better man, I'm gonna go with the fact that he's not gonna change anything, you know. And front line, interesting. I think, yeah, no, the GOAT comes back in. You know, I think the GOAT comes in. I'll be very surprised if Ronaldo's not playing. If Ronaldo's not playing, I'm gonna start thinking he might be leaving. I will, because I think what we saw on Monday was a tactical thing. You know, I think he didn't play him because he felt like we needed pace on the break, you know, and it was proven right. You know, Rashford worked well in striker, and you know it was very interchangeable between the front three, you know, so it read really well. And maybe that might be an ongoing theme, you know, against teams where we prefer to hit on the break. You know, maybe we're gonna play with Rashford, you know, and that could be really amazing, because imagine being a team that has the ability to play on the ball, but at the same time being able to take advantage of the bigger team's weaknesses by playing on the counter, you know, or maybe just tweaking the system to be a bit more counter-centric. I don't know. If we could find the balance, you know, I think it could work. It could work well, you know, or maybe that's just ridiculous and just play a style and just be a big team and learn to impose yourself even against the bigger teams. You know, I don't know. I guess that's down to you to decide if you feel like it's a viable option. But, you know, the point is, I think the GOAT comes back in because I think, as Ten Hag keeps saying, he's part of our plans. He's part of our plans. He's part of our plans. So, you know, I think he will be part of the plans. And I think, you know, if Ronaldo stays, Ronaldo's a GOAT. You know, he's going to score loads of goals, even if he's not playing every game. And I doubt he wants to, because, you know, he's getting on. You know, all of us get on. You know, I think if Ronaldo accepts that as well, you know. So I think Ronaldo's going to play. Sancho's definitely playing, because Sancho is Sancho, you know, and he scored a very saucy goal against Liverpool. And for that very fact, if he doesn't play, I'm flying to Manchester and having a word with Erik ten Hag. But I think he'll play. And, you know, to some people's nightmares, even though he played decent on Monday, I think Rashford is also going to play, you know. So I'm going to go with Rashford on the left, the GOAT through the middle, and Sancho on the right. Maybe Tony will come off the bench, you know, probably, you know. And that'll be the team, you know. And it's going to be a very interesting game. It's going to be a very interesting game, you know. We need to put a run together. We need to capitalize. Because if we go to St. Mary's and get hit for 4 again, maybe, or even if we just lose 2-1, we're going to be a joke. We're going to be a joke again, you know. Because if Liverpool win and then we lose, and then it's going to seem like, well, that was United, you know, going crazy one day and act like, you know, that something special, while they're just frauds, you know. So it'll seem like that, you know, we're back to square one. We'll be the banter team. We are the banter team, you know, and that's something we're trying to fix right now, you know. So yeah, hopefully we can carry on. We can carry the form and the desire. Desire is a big part, you know. Like Eric's right, you know, these players aren't hungry enough, you know. And also, as I said, sometimes I feel like they're a bit indecisive, with Maguire being the biggest culprit, you know. But you need to be decisive, you need to be hungry, you need to win those second balls. And if you do that in the Premier League, you're halfway there, because it's a mad league, you know. It's all about the energy, the running, you know. And if you're doing that more than the other team, you have a very good chance of, you know, getting a decent result, you know. So we need to carry the energy into this game, into the Leicester game, and into the Arsenal game, you know, and put a run together, you know, and, you know, show the world that, yes, we're trying to get rid of our owners, you know, that's the bigger picture, but at the same time, we have a hell of a good manager, you know, who, even in a difficult situation, is going to make us hard to beat, who's going to play decent football and hopefully finish in a respectable position. I know that kind of sounds bleak, saying respectable position. We're not battling for top 4, we're not battling for honours, but that's not the manager's fault. That is the owner's fault, and that is more reason why the Glazer out campaign needs to be the focus, because ultimately, if we want to win things, we need more than just Erik ten Hag. We need competent owners who can help Ten Hag, But in the meantime, we don't want to be languishing in 10th, 11th, 12th, We want our manager to show that, ultimately, football is, 11 versus 11. And if your 11 is better than the other 11, you can put in a decent show, And our 11 is definitely better than most of the teams in the Premier League, So there's no excuse. But, yeah, predictions. Away from home. Jeez, my life. You're going to call me a pessimist, But I've just been hurt. I've been hurt by this club. And, I would usually give a positive prediction, especially after being Liverpool. But I've seen this movie before. This club will hurt you. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, Because, yes, I know we're horrible at home. So me saying we're not at home maybe doesn't seem like a relevant factor. But we are playing away. And I think, St. Mary's is going to be bouncing, And I think Southampton are going to give us a run for our money. They will, and they're going to put us under pressure, and I think we'll get a goal, but we're going to be under a lot of pressure because ultimately, as much as we beat Liverpool, we're still a bit fragile. We're still not the real deal, to be honest. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, and it sucks, And I'm praying and hoping that we actually do win. We put on a show. Casemiro comes on, he sets the game on fire. Then we beat Leicester, we beat Arsenal, we win the league. I'm kidding with that last one. But yeah, that's been the preview to Southampton versus Manchester United. Hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully we're coming on the reaction and celebrating and saying we move forward, and Erik ten Hag's a boss, But yeah, it's been your boy Ritter, and I'll check you in the next one.